They said Marcus wasn't the right fit. But they never even looked at his work. They just looked at his skin. Today would be his 47th rejection. And this time, he was tired of being silent. Inside the interview room, the interviewer didn't even pretend. He barely skimmed Marcus's portfolio. He didn't ask about the talent, the awards, the experience. He only said a line Marcus had heard too many times. "Sorry, you're just not the image we're looking for." It wasn't about talent. It was about color. Marcus smiled politely and walked out with another wound. Marcus grew up in a small apartment in Atlanta. His mother worked 2 jobs. His father drove buses for 14 years. They didn't have much, but they taught him the power of dreams. His mother always said, "Baby, the world might judge you before you speak, but your work will speak louder than their judgment." Marcus grew up believing talent could overcome anything, until the world proved otherwise. When Marcus walked back into his neighborhood after his 47th rejection, the sun was setting, and the streets were quieter than usual. But the silence didn't comfort him. It exposed him. He could feel eyes turning toward him. Some curious, some sympathetic, some simply tired of hoping for him. This was the same block where people once said, "Marcus gonna make it big someday." But now, that sentence had turned into, "Poor kid, he's still trying?" On the sidewalk, 2 older men sat on milk crates outside the corner store. Marcus had grown up watching them argue about everything: sports, politics, the weather. Today their voices dropped when he walked past. "Did he get turned down again? Bro, that boy too smart for these streets but not the right color for those offices." A short pause. "World don't want us in rooms like that." Marcus kept walking. He didn't confront them. The truth stung too much to fight. Outside the barber shop he saw Darius, an old friend he used to draw comic characters with. Darius gave him the same half-smile people give when they're trying to be supportive but don't believe their own words. "You good, bro?" he asked. Marcus nodded. "Same thing?" Marcus nodded again. Darius sighed. "Look, man, maybe God trying to tell you something. Maybe you're meant for something else. These companies, they ain't checking for us." His tone wasn't harsh. It was defeated. Marcus didn't reply. He didn't trust his voice not to crack. A few kids were playing basketball at the court nearby. They used to run to Marcus asking him to draw superheroes, to show them how to shade, how to sketch, how to imagine worlds bigger than theirs. But today, when Marcus approached, the game slowed. The kids glanced at him, some curious, some confused. A small boy finally asked, "Did they say no again, Mr. Marcus?" He felt his chest tighten. Kids weren't supposed to know the weight of rejection. Not like this. He knelt beside the boy and said gently, "Yeah, they did. But that only means I gotta try again." The boy's eyes softened. But his mother quickly called him over. "Come here, baby." Then she looked at Marcus and whispered under her breath, "He's too young for disappointment like that. Don't fill his head with unrealistic dreams." That one hurt. Because she said it with fear. The kind that comes from believing the world is already closed off to people who look like them. Marcus walked away slowly. By the time he reached his apartment building, the streetlights were turning on. He sat on the steps, head in his hands, wondering if maybe the community was right. Maybe he was dreaming too loud for a place that had learned to whisper. Just then, Miss Lorraine, his elderly neighbor, pushed open her door. She always wore the same faded housecoat and carried the same gentle strength in her voice. "Baby, why your head hanging like that?" she asked. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't need to, she already knew. She sat beside him and said, "I heard the talk. I see the looks. People think they helping you by lowering your expectations." She paused, letting her words settle in the warm air. "They ain't doubting you, Marcus. They doubting themselves. They've been told no their whole lives. They learned to stop dreaming so the pain wouldn't hurt as bad." Marcus looked up, his eyes glassy. Miss Lorraine tapped his chest lightly. But you still believe you can change something. And that scares them. 'Cause if you make it, they gotta face the truth that maybe they gave up too early. Those words hit harder than any rejection letter. For the first time in weeks, something inside Marcus didn't feel broken. It felt ignited. He realized his community wasn't turning on him. They were projecting their own scars onto him. Their fears. Their disappointments. Their history. Marcus stood up with a slow breath. Miss Lorraine smiled. Go on, baby, she said. Show them what a yes looks like. And from that night forward, every whisper behind his back didn't weaken him. It reminded him why he had to win. Because if he succeeded, it wouldn't be just his story. It would be proof for an entire neighborhood that dreams still belonged to them too. Marcus didn't quit. He worked nights. He studied days. He rebuilt his entire portfolio. He sent out 300 applications. He uploaded his work online. He attended free workshops. He stayed awake through nights where he cried quietly, asking why talent wasn't enough when your skin enters the room first. But then, a small design competition opened in New York. Prize, mentorship plus contract. He submitted his work with zero expectations. 2 weeks later, a message arrived. Marcus, your submission is extraordinary. We'd like to meet you. His hands shook. For the first time, the world finally looked past his color. After months of rejection, humiliation, and being treated like he was invisible, Marcus stopped waiting for someone to open a door for him. He decided to build his own. Every morning before sunrise, he sat at the same kitchen table where his mother once prayed for strength, and he began teaching himself everything: design, coding, branding, pitching. His hands shook the first time he tried to record a demo of his app idea, but he kept going. He remembered all the faces that told him he wasn't good enough. All the people who looked at his skin before they looked at his talent. Those memories burned, but they pushed him forward. He worked 2 part-time jobs, slept 4 hours a night, and spent every ounce of energy turning his idea into something real. His app, designed to help small Black-owned businesses track their customers, started as a messy sketch on paper. Then it became a simple prototype. Then it became something he was secretly proud of. But the turning point came one cold morning when he took his laptop to the community center. Same place where people once whispered about him. Same place where a few even laughed at him when he got rejected again and again. He stood in front of them, voice unsteady, and said, I built something, and I think it can help us. At first, nobody moved. A few people crossed their arms. A few raised eyebrows, like they didn't believe he could create something valuable. But a local barbershop owner stepped forward and said, Show me. Marcus opened the app, hands trembling. And in that moment, something shifted. Not because the app was perfect, but because they saw something in his eyes they had never seen before, a man who refused to break. One by one, they gathered around. Then they asked questions. Then they gave suggestions. Then suddenly, people who once doubted him were cheering him on. For the first time in his life, he wasn't being judged for his skin, he was being recognized for his mind. Word spread faster than he expected. Within weeks, more small businesses wanted in. A local newspaper interviewed him. A tech mentor offered to help refine his design. And the same corporate office that had once rejected him 3 times, reached out asking for a meeting. He stared at the email for a long time, not angry, not bitter, just stunned. The world had a strange sense of humor. Walking into that boardroom again felt like stepping into a memory he had already outgrown. Last time he stood there, they barely gave him 5 seconds before dismissing him. This time, they gave him 20 minutes and leaned forward when he spoke. His voice didn't shake. His hands didn't tremble. He wasn't the desperate kid begging for a chance. He was Marcus Johnson, the creator of a community-powered business tool spreading across the state. They offered him a partnership deal. Not a job. Not a trial. A partnership. And as Marcus walked out of that building, sunlight hitting the glass doors, he thought about every moment that almost broke him. Every rejection. Every cold stare. Every time someone looked at his skin and assumed he was less. And yet, here he was. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, "Mom, we made it." That was the day he realized something powerful. Success didn't erase the pain, but it proved they were wrong to ever underestimate him. Marcus learned something powerful. People may reject your color, but they can never reject your talent, your character, your heart, unless you let them. One yes can silence 1,000 no's, and one person recognizing your talent can change an entire lifetime. Subscribe to Black Voices Raw. Follow us for more real stories of courage, exposure, and justice. Don't let lies stay hidden.